All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Back Log Banter. Today I'm joined by the producer slash seducer, Tucker
Ooh,
Hazel, and we're going to be
we
talking
just
today.
made that up. No one
We
has
just
ever
made that
used that
up.
term before. Yeah,
No, they haven't. You know what else they haven't done on the internet ever is talk about a short hike.
no one.
Uh, the game that released on itch.io last year and other dumb PC marketplaces that, frankly, I think are mirages. But it finally came to the Switch this year, a couple weeks ago, and people did not stop talking about it, including the one gentleman. Actually, it's my side now, but that's not how Zoom is set up for me right now. But the point is, Tucker was selling me some sweet things about this game. That's not how the expression goes, but it doesn't matter. The point is, Tucker was on the hype train for a short hype with a lot of other people once the Switch game launched. I didn't play it right away. I bought it right away. If you watched our discussion of the indie world, but I didn't
Yeah,
play it for a little bit. And one thing Tucker said to me consistently was, "Abram, you're the best part of Backlog Banter." But he
of
also
course.
told me,
Yes.
I don't want to get your hopes up. Consistently told me I don't want to get your hopes up because I was doing other things. I had some work, some school responsibilities. I was playing Persona. I just didn't get around to a short hike for a while. But he kept saying, I don't want to get your hopes up. So I finally played it over two sittings. I put it over two sittings. So it's a very short game, but I wanted to break it out a little bit
Sure.
because this game is delightful. This game could not have been overhyped for me. This is one of the best indie games on Nintendo Switch, and this is an essential experience.
I agree. And I think that's where I was coming from when I initially finished the game. And I've since beat it 4 or 5 times. I was thinking to myself, Abram bought this instantaneously when he found out that it was on sale. And knowing him, I'm scared to tell him that I like it because I feel like he'll come back and in my face just slinging shit like monkeys do and for some reason not like it. I did not have high hopes that you would enjoy this game. I'm
Sure.
very, very happy that you did. And the one caveat I want to add is while I did say I don't want to get your hopes up, I was forwarding that with the fact that I really liked this game. I really wanted you to play this game, but I didn't want to get your hopes up. So that was the seesaw, the Fall Guys seesaw balance that I was on for the last week trying to get you to play this game, and you finally did. And I'm very happy about that.
Here's what I want to say to contextualize our discussion moving forward. I need complete focus on a short hike to really give you my full thoughts on the game. So I have to ask you right now, you have a bunk bed in your room. But I
No.
believe your room, that's not a bunk bed?
No, there's not anything underneath.
See, that answers my question. I was like, there's some kind of geographical incongruency. I don't know if you're keeping some kind of small peasant boy on the lower
The
bunk or
bed used to be
something.
at this height if you will go back and
Sure.
watch any video we filmed here, and now it's at that height.
In case of flooding, is that the reason?
Yes.
All right. Well, now that we have that out of the way, what a short hike is kind of a strange game to talk about because I feel that it's very, to use a fucking wonderful buzzword, very subversive in a lot of ways because
Okay.
it's not traditional. Um, because I went into it thinking it was going to be a narrative experience from the opening moments. Like, this is a narrative experience, and then it really wasn't. It was more about this emergent world where you can explore and find things, and it's more of a mechanical experience. But then it's not really about the mechanics, really, because nothing about the game is particularly deep. And then you complete it, and we will talk about spoilers probably. I mean, why not?
There's not too much. Literally, the only spoiler to have is the story bit at the end of the game.
Yeah, because you get to the top of the mountain at the very end. You have a phone call with your mom, and then you go back down the island. You talk to your aunt. The game ends, but then you can go back in and mess around. Which then led me to think, okay, so it's really not a narrative experience. It's really not a one and done type of deal. It's really not about its mechanics. What is it about? And for me, a short hike is all about game feel, and simply about having this little toy box that is so well designed, that feels so nice to be in, where the function of the game really is just for you to enjoy being in its world.
Yep.
Which I think is very unique. And for me right now, it's exactly what I want as a little game I can hop into, maybe before I go to bed or before I get up in the morning for class, whatever. I think it fills a very particular niche that I don't think many games fill.
Yeah. To me, coming off of it, I wrote a review, my first game review that I wrote for the site called Game Grin, and I gave it a glowing review. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10 because they have a half-point scale over there at Game Grin. And in my review, one of my things I harped on the most was the fact that the island of Hawks Peak is so well designed that as you're exploring it the first time, it feels really big. It feels like there's always
Yes.
something over a cliff. The mountain is really tall. It's incredibly tall, especially if you're jumping off of it. And it always feels like there's something hiding around the next corner. There's always a secret. There's always something to jump off of, something to climb. But once you know the world, it becomes really small, and you feel like you can go anywhere very quickly once you understand the mechanics. And it's tightly designed in a way that gives you both of those experiences. You can have the sense of exploration and always feeling like there's something new to see, but on the other side, you can feel like you can master the world because it really is not that big, even though it might feel like it at first.
And there's a density to the entire experience that I didn't anticipate going in, and I still haven't fully come to terms with, because even though I finished my first run last night, I'm planning to go back in, not from the beginning, but just hop back into that same file and do the little side quests and things that I hadn't done yet. Because when I hit that updraft at the very end from the top of Hawks Peak and came back down, I landed by the fisherman on his boat where he'll buy the fish from you. And all of a
Had you
sudden,
not been there before?
I had not been there before.
Okay.
And that's something I'm gonna draw a lot of comparisons. I'm gonna sketch you a wonderful illustration by the time this is done.
Okay.
But it's a testament to the fact that the developer just really condensed a lot into this play space that I think is really, really impressive.
Yeah. For me, I want to ask a quick question first. Do you have an estimate about how long your first playthrough took you?
Oh, less than 2 hours.
Okay. My first playthrough was probably about 2.5. And I didn't do everything, but I did close to all the side quests and collectibles and things in the game.
Here's what I will say, because this game, you said you beat it in like 10 minutes, one of your runs.
You can beat it in 3 minutes. That's the world record.
And you can beat this casually, really quickly. You can do it under an hour easily.
Yeah, of course.
Just
even on a first run.
Yeah, and I'm the type of player that likes to mainline things. That's just the way I play. Side content for me has less of a pull than whatever the main thread is, whether that's gameplay progression, mechanical progression, whatever. But it's a testament to I think the success of this game's feel that I wanted to spend, even though 2 hours doesn't seem like much, in the context of a game that could be beaten comfortably 30 minutes, 40 minutes on the first time through.
Yeah.
It's a testament to, I think, how well designed it is, that I wanted to spend that time before even committing to the fact that, yeah, now that I have finished the game and I know what the story arc is, and I can just explore the fact that I want to go back and catch more fish and just listen to that music and walk around and talk to the NPCs I haven't, complete the fetch quests I haven't done, find the boat.
Yeah.
I saw on Twitter that there's a boat and I really want to drive that around, but I didn't get to that yet. Do you want me to hit you? Do you want me to hit you with a comparison that I made on Twitter, or do you have something you want to say right now?
Yeah.
All right, I don't know if you need to buckle in for this one, because you might agree with it, but it's a pretty explosive thing to say.
Okay.
I think that this game is really evocative of the spirit of Breath of the Wild that makes the game so special.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? That is the most apt comparison that this game could have. I mentioned that in my review.
Really?
I mean, really, this is just a mini Breath of the Wild. It really is. Climbing, gliding, collecting things to upgrade your stamina, going on little side quests, fetching things for people, completing little mini games. It is Breath of the Wild, and I think that's amazing because it's the boiled down, condensed, fucking turning peanut butter into a diamond core of Breath of the Wild.
See, I wasn't even talking about it from the gameplay perspective. I think the gameplay is far more Animal Crossing than it is Breath of the Wild, which is the other comparison I was going to draw, which might befuddle you more. But the Breath of the Wild comparison for me is the freedom that the game offers, and not only the freedom itself, because a lot of games offer you freedom, but what this game offers is a really non-judgmental, really laid-back feeling that you can go wherever you want, and it's okay to go wherever you want, and it's also okay to engage with as little of that content as you'd like. A lot of open world games, to an extent, sure, yeah. But a lot of open world games are like, okay, here's your map, here's some side quests. Now you better go fucking do your side quests. You better fucking go eat your cabbage and your peas and the things surrounding your nice sirloin, right? But this game really is like, here's a world, it's complete, it's full of things to do. Do as much or as little as you want, and we're going to make you feel rewarded for doing that. And we're going to make it your own experience. Because like with Breath of the Wild, like how I played that game at launch, And I first found Laurelin Village before I found Kakariko Village. I found a major test of strength trial and beat it before I even knew that minor test of strength trials were in it. I just thought I fucking sucked at the game. That sort of experience and contrasting that with my friends who played the game more traditionally, I think is a similar thing like you can do in a short hike because, first thing I did immediately is I went to the diving training over with the updraft on a little island. And I circled around and made my way up very slowly. So I think it's a really emergent experience in that sense that you can have the experience and have it feel like your own. And it feels like this is a completed world that doesn't have a path forward and then other elements around it.
Yeah.
But the entire game is a coalescence of things that don't feel like there's any tiered importance to them. They all have some kind of significance on your adventure.
Yeah, and I think that is a testament to the fact that this game is designed in a certain way, is that it's a mountain. Everything is funneling to one point. You have to get up there somehow. Like, that's the goal of the game, essentially. At the beginning of the game, your character needs to find cell reception, and the only place you can get cell reception is on top of the mountain. And that's the whole impetus of the game. Is that the right word? I don't even know. But the fact is that you have to go around the base before you can get to the middle of it. And to get to the middle of it, you have to go to the top. Like, everything funnels to one point. So there isn't really a lot of exploration in all directions. Everything is going, no matter where you're going in the right direction. As long as you're going slightly up, you're fine. And I think that's an interesting point that not a lot of games have, because most games are a lot bigger. And the only thing I want to say in the middle of this big rant about how well designed the game is, this game does have one flaw. I think is the inventory system is poo-poo shitty. It's bad. It would have not been that hard to have a 2x6 grid, 3x6 grid, something like that.
It wouldn't have been that hard. Right stick selection wheel or pull up a wheel with one of the triggers even. I agree, but there's one thing I want to say before I get to that point, actually, because I think you noted something that I want to talk about. You talked about the sense of continual vertical progression.
Yeah.
I think another testament to the way that this is designed, how compact it is that I found myself often wanting to jump off stuff and fall back down and go lower, and not feeling as though by doing that I'm hurting my forward progression at all, because it really is only a matter of moments before you can get back to the altitude you're at before, and you can find really engaging things by moving back down.
Yeah.
It plays really nicely with the perspective, I think, and it really asks you to engage with the different altitudes and the overarching structure in really unique ways.
Yeah, and I think that also one of the ways that the game is designed to make it feel like no matter where you're going, you're discovering something new is the dynamic camera. You don't have camera control in this game, but depending on what you're doing in the game or what direction you're moving, the camera will pull out to these different, sometimes really far away, sometimes pretty close, sometimes it's moving as you're rounding a corner or something like that. But it makes it always feel like you're looking at something from a new angle, even though it's always fixed. And I think that's a really interesting design choice that I know that in the PC version, there's a console where you can input commands and like add cheats essentially. And one of them is unlocking the camera. So you have free camera control. And I want to buy this game on Steam or Epic or something like that. And I want to try those sort of things, see how much it changes the experience, because they're in the game to mess around with in other versions. But that was such an integral part of the design experience to me that I don't know how having camera control really would impact my experience. Although I've already beaten the game, so obviously it wouldn't really change my score or anything, but I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a really great example of the success you can find with limitations of design, whether that is the camera or the overall scope of the experience, or I'm assuming things like the budget and the resources available. Because this really is a game that does a lot with a little.
Yeah.
And I talked about that. It evokes a lot with a little. It gives you a large gameplay experience with a little. I think it's a really elegant use of space from basically every possible context that you could use that word in.
Finishing that off, I think we should move on to your Animal Crossing point. Might as well spooge that all over the review.
That makes me nervous, but we'll go along with it. I really think that this game evokes classical Animal Crossing in a lot of ways. Specifically like GameCube era Animal Crossing, which is very special for me as somebody who came to college equipped with a copy of Animal Crossing on the GameCube.
Okay. I did not come with that, but I did come with Ape Escape on the Loose for PSP. Oh my god. First throw of college. Felt
First year
so
of college,
good.
it took a while,
So
but I'm
cathartic.
happy it happened. But the reason I say that is for a couple of reasons. I think in one sense, mechanically, the parallels are pretty similar. The fishing, the digging things up. The fact that a lot of the side quests or the more structured content in the game is more about interpersonal interactions and solving very simple little fetch quests. That's very Animal Crossing. That's very much the structure of those games. But I think also the dialogue feels very Animal Crossing.
That's true, actually.
Especially the older games, the way that they had this kind of eclectic personality, the way the characters talk here feels, it's this weird hybridization of really more self-serious and down-to-earth in character, in world dialogue with this almost like quirky internet speak type of edge to it that I think is
Yeah.
really, really fun. And it reminds me of why this game is so quirky. God, my fucking Zoom camera is reversed. I can't pull anything up properly. So quirky and fun to revisit. But in a larger sense, I think just the way that the world feels so wholesome and so whimsical, and the fact that you are taking on these little quests, and it's about being in the world and meeting the characters and solving their concerns and learning about them, that feels very Animal Crossing in the context of the game's aesthetic and in the context of the game's sense of humor and sense of personality. I really think that this is filling the Animal Crossing little niche that New Horizons didn't quite fuck.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying. Yes.
But I mean, I can't pick up on that because I never played the older Animal Crossing games. I did really enjoy the dialogue in this game. It made all the characters really endearing. It wasn't, I don't know if I really would consider it as self-serious as you were saying. I feel like it has its own sense of what is serious. Is the characters all, some of them have a little bit of, they have a problem they have to fix, or they, want to talk to someone else or want something to happen. And you're really the only one doing anything on this island. Everyone's kind of just sitting around. And so you're the only active portion of the island, and you have to kind of go around and be the small scale hero, which I think is kind of fun. One of the first things that I found in the game was the toy shovel, going to look for the toy shovel to give to the turtle. And that is a good example of the side quests in the game feel so integral to your exploration and to the into your progression, is that almost every character you talk to, not at first, but almost every character at some point in the game will have something to either tell you or give you that will add to your progression. You get essentially what amounts to running shoes. You get running shoes from one character. You get the shovel from one character, and then
the fishing pole.
Yeah, the fishing pole from the
I had a fun
fisher
moment
guy.
with that, actually.
Do you want to expound?
Yeah, did you like how I was waiting for you to ask me to continue the thought I interrupted you with? Here's the fishing pole.
Catch that.
It doesn't matter because I also didn't catch a fish the first time I went fishing. I actually fell off the dock.
Yeah, no, same here.
And I love how there's a whole little sequence for that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand. I was like pulled back in the stick, but I pushed forward on the stick. What I thought was backwards fucking sent me into the water.
Yep, no, same thing happened to me.
It took me a little bit, but it's fun the way that even though it took me a little bit of time to understand the mechanic, the game's prepared for you to make those mistakes, prepared to make them into really important moments.
One thing that I actually was thinking about earlier when we were talking about the dialogue that I forgot to bring up is that this game is actually, it's dynamic in a very small way. Is that, as you were saying, the game is prepared for you to do certain things. It's a lot like, I don't know if you've ever played Bastion, but Supergiant's game Bastion has a narrator, voice and everything. And no matter what you do, if you mess up, if you do something stupid, or like the Stanley Parable, both those games have the game prepared for you to mess around in it. And in this game, in A Short Hike, if you, depending on what you do throughout the game, you get essentially a different ending. Your dialogue with your aunt changes depending on what activities you took part in throughout the game. If you ended up playing beach stick ball, if you found the money rock, if you caught some fish, if you returned the headband, like all these different things, you can join the climbing club. Like there's different dialogue for it. And with each character, depending on if you've gotten certain items, if you are at a certain point in the game in terms of your golden feathers, things like that, they'll have different dialogue. And it really makes it feel like you can uh, do what you want and you're impacting the world no matter what you are able to do. And it is dynamic in a way that makes it feel good to replay, because if you're rushing ahead, characters will remark on the fact that, like, wow, you seem unprepared, or like those sort of things. And it was really a charming thing for me to go back and replay the game and get these different lines of dialogue, because it just shows how much the developer thought about different play styles.
I like that he thought those things out, but I also like that he, in another Animal Crossing trope, created characters that really have their own lives and their own things going on, and they'll react to you, but they're going to go about their business regardless. Not only do you have the runners going around the island, but a great example for me is that little girl who wants seashells from you.
Yeah.
So you
Oh,
collect
that's
15
a
shells.
great, God, that's a great moment.
I love that, and that's also an example of what I mean by serious. The humor is in the fact that you go, you get the necklace, you deliver the necklace, you get the feather, you come back, and then she pays you in shells, but she's serious about it.
Yeah.
Like for her, that's just a sensible thing to do. Like that's just she deals in shells. It's that simple for her. And I like that even though those moments are there for the player and they are prepared, so no matter how you interface with the world, you're going to have your experience. At the end of the day, these are still just lively characters who go about their business. That
Yeah.
girl just really believes in walking around the beach and collecting shells, and that's her character beat, and that's really fun to
Yeah.
feel that you're having an interaction with a character who has a life outside of you, which I think makes any NPC feel more lively.
So there's two other things that I want to talk about that I think we can sort of bounce back and forth on. First
Tax
thing,
reform.
well, that'll be later.
So three
But
things.
yeah, okay. Well, that one went without saying. But one of the first things is the different gameplay mechanics that the game introduces throughout your exploration. I think those are all surprisingly fun. I don't think there was one that felt like it was useless. And that was kind of another comparison you can make to Zelda is you pick up the shovel, you pick up the pickaxe, you get the water bucket, like all these different things that you are able to collect throughout the game that give you access. Actually, kind of like a Metroidvania, right? Like you get the water bucket and suddenly cliffs just don't matter to you because you can pour the thing on the sprout and you get the flower that pushes you up in the air. And I think those are really fun because it makes the world feel smaller. And I think that's a point that I was missing earlier when I was talking about the design, is that these upgrades that you get allow you to conquer the world in ways that you didn't even think were really possible before. I think that was fun. Are there any particular gameplay mechanics that you thought that you liked a lot?
What I liked about them from a large scale sense is that they never felt intrusive and they all felt additive to the experience. I feel like unlike a more traditional Zelda game where you get your hook shot and you get your iron boots and things, they become all of a sudden, these inform the gameplay. Now you're in the section where you got to use the hook shot to get around. Or now here's the section where you got to put on the iron boots to sink down to the bottom of the water. But everything here really felt like Breath of the Wild, like a tool instead of a gimmick or a mechanic that'll be used and then discarded. So I really like that. And I really like fishing. I think that fishing is just a fun addition to any game, and it adds a fun way to engage with the world more. So I really liked fishing. I think that's the one that connected with me the most. The shovel, I guess, fine, but I really went through most of the game only using the fishing pole and the shovel.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even get the running shoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got the water bucket, but I got the water bucket, I'm like, that's interesting, but then I never actually poured it on anything. I just picked it up and took it with me. I'm like, this is my bucket now. But it never became a function of traversal for me.
Did you get the pickaxe?
I didn't even get the pickaxe.
Oh, interesting.
See, this is why I'm excited to go back again, because I had my experience, but now I want to have the holistic experience of the game.
Mm-hmm. Another question. How many golden feathers did you end the game with?
You want me to find out right now?
Might as well. Anything you can say in the meantime so you're not just like looking at your freaking back of your Switch until... Or should I just keep mumbling until you find out?
Well, it's not going to take me very long. And here's what I want to say also. We commented on it. I'm going to just steal your thought because it was off camera, so I can tell you as my own now. It's a really nice Switch Home icon.
Oh, yeah, it is. I love it.
Really not much to say other than that, but it's got a nice gradient, as you said.
Oh, I love gradients. Love me some gradients.
And I guess one thing I will mention now that I'm pulling it up is that I love the fact that I can just pull it up and hop back in where I was. And that's not an instance of I completed the game. Okay, now I need to do a whole other run if I want to.
Yeah.
I can continue exploring the island. I think that's such a smart choice. And one of my biggest disappointments with Breath of the Wild was that you finish that game, then you're plopped back in right before you fought Ganon. So the world didn't really change. Now let me count. I need to use my pointer finger for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay. I mean, that's a very good amount considering the fact that you apparently have not found a lot of things around the island. I mean, 12 is a solid number. I think my first playthrough, I probably had 9 or 10. But I know there's like almost 20 in the game, which is fun. And once you get a lot, you can just do whatever the hell you want. And it really is a lot like getting full upgraded stamina meter in Breath of the Wild, and you just feel like you can conquer any obstacle. It's really, really quite a fun thing.
How many feathers did you buy from the guy who needs college tuition?
Oh, well, actually, you just transitioned perfectly into the second point that I was to make that was not tax evasion. All right, is
Okay.
the experiences that you had in this game, the moment-to-moment little, tiny adventures, tiny little interactions that you had.
Yeah.
I think this game thrives on those. I mean, that's essentially the reason it succeeds so well at being tightly designed is because no matter where you go, you find a little something that is either environmental that's fun, a character that's fun, and a collectible that's fun. And there's also, the game is just full of these little moments. And one of them for me was paying off the guy's college debt. I did that before I bought any feather. Well, you have to buy one feather from him. But after that, I went straight and paid off his college debt, and then I bought a bunch of them until he was out.
Yeah, I haven't gotten him all the way out yet. So that's one of the first things I do. Because now I can sell the fish for money. I'm gonna fish a lot and spend those coins on him. So I think I bought probably 3 feathers from him. Mm-hmm. So it's just how much money I had organically accumulated.
You might have one more left. I can't remember how many sells you. It's not like a ludicrous amount. But what else? Oh, the climbing club. That was one of my favorite moments. I mean, another one. The person who's painting. Have you experienced the painting guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. You end up following him around the map kind of, and he tells a whole little story about himself.
I really love the one that got his fishing, not his camping license eaten by the fish.
Yeah. And then you find it?
Yeah, I didn't even find it. I just talked to him at that interaction. I stole his worms and I left.
But, well, you find the thing eventually. I got that as my second time fishing. That was one of the first things I caught. Maybe you're not fishing in the right place, but
maybe not.
I don't know.
But I think that's just testament to the fact that I could probably keep rattling off all the interactions I did have, and I'd be happy with all of them.
Yeah.
And they're memorable. And even though the characters don't have names, and they're just these kind of nondescript
Some of them do.
Oh, well, I guess, yeah, like your Aunt May and things of that nature.
Well, there's Sue, the rabbit, and the turtle that she's racing that you get the headband from when you get the shoes. They have names.
It reminds me in some ways of...
And the polar bear has a name. Can't remember his name.
You know what game I really want to fucking discuss with you if you like this?
Okay.
Play Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening.
Mail me your copy of Link's Awakening and I'll play it. I was downloaded because you're a fucking digital scumbag. Yeah.
You're the fucking one of the trillion people you can't share with doesn't have Link's Awakening?
No, I don't think so. None of them really care about Zelda.
Well, buy Link's Awakening. You use some of your fucking crack money to buy Link's Awakening and discuss it.
I'm using my crack money for rats at the moment.
But Link's Awakening is actually really interesting because Kahoolan Island, I see a lot of parallels between this and Kahoolan Island.
Yeah, I can actually see that. Yeah.
And some of the quest lines, there's a really fun trading quest that you go through in Link's Awakening that is very evocative of the sort of quest lines you experience in a short hike. And I really do think if the opportunity passes for you to pick up that game, I really do think you'd enjoy it, and B, think it'd make for a wonderful discussion. So do that. But what the fuck was they even talking about?
No idea. Start talking about crack money. Yeah, it is a good game. We're talking about a good game here.
Here's what I want to talk about because we haven't even mentioned it yet. I love how it looks.
I
love the aesthetic of this game.
Oh, and the music. Oh my god, the music is so good. It's dynamic to the world and it fades in and out naturally depending on like the weather and your location. Oh, that gets me going. It's so good.
I do
disagree. The soundtrack is on Spotify, by the way.
Oh, that's I'll favorite. I've been having fucking terrible issues with the Spotify app recently. I don't know if this is widespread, but it's not working right for me. It makes me deeply angry. But some people said this is like a PS1 aesthetic. I disagree with that. This feels very DS to me.
Yeah,
which I love.
We agree on that. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And that's a weird nostalgia I didn't know I had.
Well, here's the thing. I think you didn't realize you had it because this really hasn't been done before. Honestly, we don't get many 3D low poly or low resolution. Like we get plenty of throwbacks to SNES and sometimes N64, with like A Hat in Time or something like that. But even that's like better
It's a
graphics.
GameCube throwback.
Yeah. But DS
Big fan.
has not been really tackled because the most of the games on DS are 2D, and at that point they kind of just look like SNES games. And the 3DS or the 3D DS games look like absolute dick. So
yes, they're ugly.
so that one having a game that is bigger in scope. I mean, this game is seamless, completely seamless. There's no loading screens or anything, and has an art style that fits a modern sensibility. It's just fantastic.
And by
I
the
like
way,
gradients. I also love color palettes. Oh man, I love this game's color palette.
and keep in mind, it's evocative of that style that we grew up with, but it's not ugly. That's important.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been a conflation based on what we just said. But this game is beautiful.
Have you played it on dock mode?
No, I've only played handheld.
Well, I played on my 4K. I played the entire first playthrough on my 4K TV, and my subsequent playthroughs have all been handheld. The game looks great either way. Hello?
I can't get it. I can't get it. Maybe come back to me.
Okay. What else can we talk about?
You have a 4K TV, but you're a 1K person.
I don't get that reference.
I'm a 0K person.
I don't know how many Ks. What the fuck? I'm not. Oh, in your name? All right, great. That's fucking fantastic.
So you didn't pick up fast enough. So I knew I had the self-awareness to know that was a terrible joke and it wasn't gonna make any sense. But you didn't pick up on it. You know?
No.
You gave
Yeah.
too much wiggle room.
Yeah.
Too much.
What else can we say about this game? I mean, honestly, we've talked about almost every aspect of it, and
Feels nice to play.
Oh yeah, actually, before we moved on to bad jokes, I was thinking about that. Is that this game? One of the first things you mentioned was game feel, and this game is tightly designed in its environment and its dialogue and its storytelling and its characters, but it really does rival a lot of big games with how great it feels to control. Right? The gliding is fantastic. You haven't found the boat yet, but that's a little slippery and crazy. But I mean, it's intended that way, and that's really fun to control. I mean, getting into running shoes is great. This was a mechanic I didn't even know was in the game until one of my second or third playthrough. Is that if you are holding as you step onto a spring flower, which I guess you haven't even gotten those yet, but you do this dive that gets you some vertical movement and it allows you to get fucking anywhere. You can also, when the chest's open, if you're standing on top of them, it springs you up. There's all these little details in the game that if you don't notice them at first and it just happens accidentally once, it suddenly becomes a new way of experiencing the game. And I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Here's what I want to end with.
All right.
But here's what I want to end with before we actually end, because this is actually just me talking about Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
A short hike is so dense, right? And it has all these quirky little things, like saying on top of a chest to bounce up. I love hopping off of umbrellas. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That way. There are all these little things and all of these little considerations and so many just intricate design decisions in the scope of this game. Nintendo made this on a fucking 1,000 times scale, and it's just as dense, if not more dense. So all I'm saying right here is Breath of the Wild is a wonderful game, and we didn't talk about it.
This is a very good game.
I haven't talked about it in a while.
No, we have not. I don't even know if we've really ever had a in-depth Breath of the Wild decision. What is that? Do I smell a Breath of the Wild discussion coming within the next couple of weeks? I think it might be floating by on the wind, but I'm smelling that preemptively. But I think that honestly about does it for this discussion. We've kind of run our course. I mean, our video now is as long as a playthrough of the game, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts as you discover more of the game. I've been going through the game in speedrun mode. I've gotten my time down to probably 9 minutes beating the game. But I do want to give myself another playthrough where I just kind of try to find everything that I can. So that'll be fun. And I have no plans to stop playing this game. I mean, eventually I'll wear myself out on it, but it was $7.19 when we got it on sale, $10 max price. This game it's a no-brainer, honestly. It's a must play. If you have Steam, if you have Epic, if you have a Switch, please play this game.
This is an upper echelon 2020 game.
Even if it's not a 2020 game.
It's a 2020 game. You can go fuck yourself. I don't know exactly where I put it in my ranking, but it's an upper echelon.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know.
It's been a wonderful year for 2019 games coming to Switch in 2020. That's what I'll
Interesting.
say.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I mean, if you haven't played the game and you watched the discussion, you've kind of second-handedly had the experience and you kind of know everything that happens. But that doesn't mean that the game's not worth playing. I mean, there really is a lot to building your own experience, and there's a lot of things that we didn't even talk about with this game. We didn't even touch on the ending area and how the mechanics change in that. But that's also fantastic. And go play that if you haven't played the game yet.
We didn't even talk about Ranger May's sex dungeon. You can go find that.
Yeah, that's the DLC. But we'll talk about that another time, or maybe off camera.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, well, we'll see you guys in another video.
I want to do a discussion with you about the Monkey Busters.
Are they monkeys dressed like Ghostbusters, perchance?
It's something even better. Before we start recording, I'm not going to be able to focus unless you check your Twitter DMs right now and look at this thing.
I finally turned on Twitter notifications after a long time.
Yeah.
A rural Japanese town under siege by monkeys is defended by 3 elderly women armed with air guns who call themselves the Monkey Busters. There they are.
There's a lot I really like about this picture.
Yeah, they look ready to go.
The tactical forward grip on that woman's AR air gun makes me really happy.
The woman on the left just looks like it just looks like a gun. Like it just looks like she's ready to kill someone.
Well, I didn't read air guns, and I thought that the woman on the right just legitimately had an M4.